Hello students, this video we're going to take what are currently flat pieces that we've been designing for templates and now turn them into the three-dimensional pieces that we'll use for the model. So if you have been following along with the videos as I've been doing them, you have the two pieces here, they are flat. So the first thing is let's just turn them into three-dimensional shapes. Now that's pretty straightforward. We're going to select, let's start with the body. Because it is a component, we need to double click to edit it. We're then going to use our push-pull tool that we're becoming quite familiar with, and we're going to pull it out and make it 12 millimeters, because that is the measurement that we were told on our class page for the thickness of the material that we'll be using. In a similar fashion, we're going to come to the wing, so let's select the wing, double-click, use our push-pull tool, and on our class page we were told that this would be 3 millimeters. I'm typing the number in, pressing enter, and getting the pieces there. Okay, so now I have two three-dimensional shapes, but they are both still lying down flat, and I'd kind of like to stand the airplane up onto its base if you like, and then also later on we'll move the wing and rotate it around as well. So let's look at rotation. What I'm going to do is select my wing, and I'm going to rotate my view around to the back in this case. And the reason I've chosen the back is we still have a fairly flat piece here. If I try to do it from the front, which is all curved, it's going to be a lot harder to find some points to grab and rotate with. So if I use this particular place, I'm going to take my my rotation tool, and I'm going to rotate around the red axis. The red axis being this one along here, standing my airplane up. So just like I've done previously, I'm going to find a point on my red axis, a second point, and I'm basically going to pivot. Okay, so you remember the first point is your pivot point, the second point is like your handle, and I want to pivot. Now, if I want to stand it up, right, the way I've got it, I'm actually pivoting down, so I'm going to be pivoting by 90 degrees. So pivot, like most tools, in some amount, doesn't matter how much, then type the amount that you want in, press enter, and there you go. It has rotated for us. Right, so there is our piece essentially now standing up. Let's choose our selection tool just so we don't accidentally rotate further. Rightio, let's now have a little think about our wing. Again, the wing is in the right plane horizontally, but we want to rotate it around. So in a similar way, I'm going to view it in a way that makes sense for what the type of rotation I want to do. I'm going to make sure I've selected it, and I'm going to get my rotation tool, and I'm going to think about how to rotate this. So again, I want to rotate in this plane, so that's okay. So I'm just going to click 2 points on here and rotate it. So again, it's a 90-degree rotation that we want in my case, because that's the way I drew them. So rotate some amount and type in 90 and press enter. And again, I now have my two pieces rotated. Now, I didn't say it before, but notice that I didn't double click on the pieces or the components when I was trying to move them and rotate them, because I wanted to rotate them as a whole thing, not rotate individual parts. So there's no need to double click and go into the editing mode. All right, now that I've got these rotated properly, I need to position them. We have a symmetrical wing, and we have a body that is a certain thickness. So really what I want is the perfect tip of this wing to line up with the middle point, if you like, of the thickness of the body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw again a construction line on my aeroplane body. Now I'm not going into edit, so I'm not actually editing the aeroplane. All right, so I'm not actually drawing on the airplane. What I'm drawing is a construction line sort of essentially sitting on top of this component. So I'm coming and drawing it in, and I know that the airplane body is 12 millimeters because I just did it. So I'm setting it at 6. So that gives me like a nice division line down here. I happen to have this line in my airplane because of the way I started my curve. And I also happen to know that was the 70 millimeter one from earlier, but you might not have a line there, or you might have a line somewhere else, and you want to work out where to put your aeroplane wing. You might decide to put some extra lines in here to help guide it, but this center line is the one that I really care about. Now the next thing is I want to think about my wing. Okay, so same thing, my wing needs to have a center point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a center point, also construction line on here. But I'm going to flip over first because I don't want to draw the line on top. I want to draw it on the bottom of this piece. And that's going to be important when I try to lock them together. Because if I draw it on top and I try to use it to lock to this spot here, it's going to sink the wing into the aeroplane. And that's no good for what I'm trying to achieve. Okay, so I'm actually going to firstly rotate. So I'm technically looking at the bottom of my wing. Doesn't have to be straight, but just so I can see the bottom. Then I want to find the middle of this whole piece. So just like before, with the piece selected, I can draw a construction line. Now I know from earlier that the whole wing is 250 millimeters wide. So if I draw a construction line on here, that is 250 millimeters. I didn't get it right. Sorry, I've got to get onto a piece of the aeroplane. That's not working properly. Sorry, try one more time. Just trying to catch on to the thing there. 250. No, so not. Why am I saying 250? Sorry, everybody. 125. I can't do maths in my head. So if I do that, I've got a nice construction point, and I'm going to bring it forward to join onto the body of the airplane, and I'm just locking it on. I'm not actually putting a measurement here, and I've now got a point that is exactly in the middle. That's probably one of the most confusing parts of this whole process. So I need to find the middle across, and then I just need to come up to join to the front of the aeroplane. Okay. If that doesn't work for you, you can just eyeball it and work out where you think it should go. But I'm trying to be as accurate as possible. All right. Now, next thing is I need to move this aeroplane wing. So I'm going to first make sure that the wing is selected. I'm going to grab it by that point that we just made. So here it is there. And I'm going to bring it forward. And I'm lucky because I'm using a mouse that I can zoom out and rotate at the same time to try and position this in a way that I can see. There we go. Because what I'm trying to do, like we've seen earlier, is trying to lock that point to the one that I made here. So I've locked those two together. Notice my construction lines didn't move. That's okay because they were there just to get that point. I've now got it in the right spot. If I wanted those lines to follow the wing, I would actually have to edit the wing and draw them on and then take them off later. But either way, I've ended up where I want to be. I've got my aeroplane wing sitting on top of the body of my aeroplane where I want it to be. Oops, I just moved accidentally, so press escape to undo that. And I'm going to clean up, of course, those construction lines that I just drew. If I can ever get my rubber, there it is, sorry. There you go. So I have got my aeroplane wing in the right spot. Again, I will accept, honestly, that this can be one of the more complex parts of this whole build so far. Because you have to really think about positioning. You have to really try and get things lined up. So do your absolute best. Obviously, watch this several times if you need to. Think about where you can draw construction lines to help you find points. Remember, if you've got 2 points, you can lock those together. That makes it so much easier. And I know I sort of said it really much on the fly, but if you do have access to a mouse, it really makes these things so much easier. Because while you're holding down that button and dragging that wing around, being able to also use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out and reposition things does make this so much easier. So if you've got access to a mouse, please, I strongly encourage you to use it. But hopefully you have got to this point now. And again, obviously make sure you're saving regularly, and we will be looking at how we bring in some other pieces, in fact, pieces that have been made for you, excuse me, and add them to this aeroplane quite soon. So that's in the next lesson.